An official welcome. A good evening to all. Let me know if you're seeing the PowerPoint in the chat. Should be uploaded shortly. Okay, in the meantime, okay, it's uploading still. So in the meantime, we're going to get started, and we are going to have a section at the end of the process for a Q&A where you can unmute your microphones. But just to maintain order, we are going to keep everybody muted. But if you do have questions, you can ask in the chat and I will respond there. All right, so the PowerPoint is still uploading, so just look out for it. You'll see a notification when it is finished. All right, so we get started on today's session. So we're talking about PowerPoints, something that we are all very familiar with. Some of these things, let some people in. And we're going to talk about creating effective presentations using PowerPoint. Now, the thing is, we've heard already, why use PowerPoint? We've heard many jokes or memes, death by PowerPoint, and we know why. Because sometimes you go to a presentation and we see persons, using a PowerPoint, and it's really not very attractive. It's also probably sometimes, a lot of words, and you're not so sure where to focus. So today we are going to be looking at how PowerPoint can be used effectively, both from a time management perspective as educators, whether you're in preschool or university level, primary, secondary. You can use PowerPoint in a way that is effective both for you, the educator, as well as for the student. So just to introduce myself, and that's my little cartoon version of myself. So hi, I'm Leanne here, and I am the director of 21st Century Educators. I have also been a secondary school teacher for 20 years, and I am also currently a part-time lecturer at the University of the West Indies, where I do teach teachers how to integrate technology into their classroom. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to look at the basics of PowerPoint. So we're just going to do a quick review of PowerPoint. And then we're going to talk about the slide master, something that sometimes a lot of us aren't aware of. And we're going to look at some time-saving tips as well. And then we're going to talk about something called add-ins for PowerPoint that can really be very useful if we know how to use them. All right, so we're jumping right in because we have 1 hour. And of course, there's a lot to cover. And as I said, I want this to be a very hands-on session. So we are going to get started. Right. So what are some benefits of using PowerPoint? Why use PowerPoint if I'm teaching or I'm going to present something to my staff? Why am I going to use PowerPoint? Well, of course, a PowerPoint is a visual aid. So it's exactly that. It helps to support and bring about your point. It helps to appeal to the different learners in front of you, because whether you're talking to children or you're talking to adults, visuals do help. And it is particularly important now because there are actually studies that show this generation, which is Generation Z, those would be the secondary school students and university students, and Generation Alpha, that's the upcoming generation, so the primary schoolers, that their brains have actually been configured differently, like physically differently, to be able to, they can actually process visuals faster than the generations that came before them. And we know why, right? From birth, the cell phone, the Netflix, the televisions have changed. So those pixels that we see coming fast and furious at us, I mean, just this screen alone, there's several pixels. And so their brains have actually changed to accommodate these visuals that they have been exposed to from so young. And so, of course, visual aids are always fantastic in terms of our teaching. It's also flexible and portable. So, you can do a PowerPoint on one machine, but because you can upload it and you can use it anywhere, so you don't have to use it on one machine. It also, in a physical space, allows you to move around, right? Because you can get a clicker and you don't have to stay like by a whiteboard and write on the board. You can move around the class, so that helps with interaction. It's multimodal. You get to put videos, images, you get to use Giphies. You know, you can really make your presentation very rich by having those multimedia parts in there. You can add external links. So if your PowerPoint is being sent to someone, you can actually include all of your information. And PowerPoint now actually allows you to embed a lot of your information right within it. So embedding means a lot of times the person does not necessarily even have to leave PowerPoint to access the material. And of course, the benefit of it being reusable and editable. When you have printed paper, you make a mistake, you have to go and redo it, and you have to, you know, it saves trees, etc. And of course, you do have the printable options, but it's not just that you have to print your slides, because sometimes as educators, we don't actually want to share our slides, but we can share handouts and we can share notes. So PowerPoint actually gives you all of these benefits. And I'm sure if I were to ask you, you would actually have a few other benefits that you can name. So let's talk about the basics. We should avoid text and slides. It's better to have more slides than trying to place too much text on one slide. Use brief points instead of long sentences or paragraphs, and outline key points rather than transcribing your lecture. Use PowerPoint to cue and guide the presentation. Use the notes feature to add content to your presentation that the audience will not see. And you can access the notes section for each slide by sliding the bottom of the slide window up to reveal the notes section, or by clicking view and choosing notes page from the presentation views option. Relate PowerPoint material to course objectives to reinforce their purpose for students, and definitely do not read directly off your slide unless you do not want anyone paying attention to what you're saying. So just by a show of hands, how many of you have experienced what I just did? And you found it was beneficial, where you have somebody in front of you and they're literally reading off of the slide. Or how many of us are guilty of doing just that in our classroom? So you don't have to tell me if you are guilty. So I'm seeing some hands being raised, right? So I am sure you either experienced it or you have been guilty of doing it, right? And what happens is, just now when I read, nobody was listening to me, because guess what? You were reading along with me. You also did not get most of the information, I'm pretty sure, that I was referring to, because it was just too much. And so this is what we do not want to do. So we're going to actually look at how we could make the same information much better. So let's take another try at it. So the basics. We want to avoid text-dense slides. And now I want to talk to this, right? So I want to tell you things like, don't have a paragraph of text. Actually, they suggest that you should not have more than 6 lines on a slide, and you should not have too many words per line. So they recommend no more than 7 words per line. So you definitely, when you are presenting, because remember, this is an aid to you. So you are still supposed to be the one that's delivering the information, making it interactive, asking questions, etc. So you really want to avoid text-dense slides. And notice, only one point comes up at a time. And in that way, I actually get you to focus on that one thing. Because I'm pretty sure we have students who read quickly. And if you have other things on the slide, what do? They go and they read ahead and they're not listening to you. So you want to actually use animation, and I'm going to show you how to do this. Use animation to actually have a focus on one thing at a time, depending on what you're doing. So you want to use brief notes to cue and guide the presentation. You also want to use the notes feature. So this isn't a case where you actually are dependent on your notes. You know, you're really not so sure what you're going to say. You want to have your notes to make sure that you cover everything. I'm going to show you where that notes feature is and how you can use it in a classroom. And you also want to make sure that whatever you're doing, it's related to the course objectives, right? So this is basic 101 stuff for teaching. Then you have a couple other basic stuff, and we're actually going to do a hands-on on this, so don't worry about it. Number of slides. So if you're going, depending on what your slides, the purpose of your slides are for, that will determine the number. Of course, the length of the class as well would determine the number of slides. But generally, if you are doing a presentation, the rule is 1 minute per slide. So in other words, you're supposed to spend some time on the slides, right? So you're not supposed to just be rushing through a whole series of slides, because then it actually takes away from your presentation as well. The constant flicking does not really help. And so just bear that in mind. So for a meeting, they recommend something like 10 slides. If it's like a pitch you're going to make, something like 10 slides. Of course, for a classroom, it might be different, but you don't want to have something like 60 slides for, you know, a 40-minute class. It means you probably have too much information for that session anyway. In terms of emphasizing content, so some ways to emphasize content would be using features such as the bold, using different colors, but we don't want to overdo the colors, right? So we don't want to overdo having a set of colors on the screen, because then that becomes very distracting. And this is really important. When you are using a light background, like what I have here, you should have a dark font. So you shouldn't use fonts like colors like yellow or light blue on a light background. If you want to use those colors, then your background needs to be dark, and then you can use light fonts such as white, etc. So remember, your background must always contrast with your font color. Then there's this thing called typeface. So your typeface is basically where you have, you know, your font, what you're using for your font, how large your font is, etc. You try not to have more than two types of fonts on your screen, right? Again, you don't want your PowerPoint looking all over the place, or, you know, looking like it belongs to two different PowerPoints. So no more than 2 types of fonts per slide. And also you need to consider the size of your font. Now, if you're presenting in a room, a good rule of thumb is actually to have a font of size 36 to 40, right? So that's a good rule of thumb, because you are not presenting for yourself. The person who is to the back of the room should be able to see your presentation clearly, and therefore the general rule is certainly no less than 24. And of course, that depends on the type of font. So you also want to try to avoid fonts which are difficult to read. You want to remember, for students, you may have dyslexic students among you. So you always want to have a dyslexic friendly font, which are basically any fonts that are called sans serif fonts, right? So if you were to go in and you'll actually take a look at it, any sans serif type font is suitable for a dyslexic student. In cases where you have students who have other accessibility issues, such as you may have visually impaired students, you may want to increase the font in that case, right? But general rule, 36 to 40 size. And then clip art and graphics. So clip art in PowerPoint have become very cliche. Like everybody's just going to the clip art, and the clip art, then, you know, you kind of use clip art that doesn't look standard. So your PowerPoint might have a certain type of clip art on the first slide, and then another type of clip art on the second slide. And while, you know, you may not find it a big deal, if you want your PowerPoints to look clean, you know, you want to have kind of standardized images. And I'm going to show you today where you can find some of those images just to have a nice, clean, standardized look that you can get outside of clip art. And then finally, for the basics, animations and sound. So only use animation where absolutely necessary. You know, have you ever heard a PowerPoint that every slide it changes, it goes ding? or it goes and has, you know, it's like the sound it becomes annoying after a while. Or every time something comes up, there's a special sound effect. We only want to use those sound effects when they actually serve a purpose. All right. And similarly for animation, because I've used animation in this slide, animation is to only be used when it serves a purpose. And the purpose it's serving in this particular slide is that I'm focusing you on a particular point. So guess what we're going to do? We are actually going to get into practice. So let me just check the chat I'm seeing. Everyone reading from their slides. Yes, it really isn't, you know, it really does not help, right? So before we get started, because as I said, I know some people came in late. Let me just share the slide again that you are going to be working on. So I hope everybody who was here earlier, you got a chance to download the PowerPoint. I'm resending it. It is in the chat. It should be sent shortly. It's uploading. You can use that to practice what we are going to do now. So for the basics, all the things that I just spoke to you about, this up here is called your ribbon. So file, home, insert, draw, etc. Design, animations. This is where you get all of that information that I just spoke about in terms of your font size, in terms of whatever you are going to do. And I want to just demonstrate a couple of things. So on your ribbon, your home button is where you have most of the things that you would generally spend your time with in terms of looking for the slide design, etc. So you would notice that here, you will see things like title slide, title and content, section headers, etc. So we just, for simplicity, going to show, we're just going to show the titles, title and title slide. And if you wanted to change your font, of course, here's where you change your font. Now, remember I spoke to you about the sans serif. So if you actually looked up my son. So the sans serifs are like Calibri, Times Roman numerals, but you also have a couple others. So you want to, like, any of these can work. Any that you're not having too many curves, like this would be a really bad one to use. Anything that's very curvy, right? Like the Arabic typesetting, you don't want to use those. You can use the Arial. You don't want to use something looking like this because it's going to be very difficult to read, right? So you want to always consider the accessibility for students. Changing your font size, you can change your font size here. You can also, if you had you can actually just change it using this. This means increase font. This means decrease font. All right. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time looking at every single thing here because, as you can see, it's a lot. But this is where the home is where you are going to find all of those things that I just spoke about. And I want you to go to your PowerPoint. Did anybody get the PowerPoint? Are you all seeing the PowerPoint to download? Yes. So I'm not sure why people aren't seeing it. It's in the chat. Are you all seeing the chat? Those are, well, yes, because you're chatting. So I'm going to try uploading it once more. I'm not sure if it's because people came on late. So I'm going to upload it once more. And if not, I'm going to send it after the session, right? For those of you who didn't get it, I will send it via the emails that you provided just join this meeting. All right, so if you don't see it, it's fine. So what you are going to do, you are actually going to work on slides 1 and 2, and you have 5 minutes to do it. And I want you to follow the instructions on slides 1 and 2 for me. So you're actually trying it, right? And I would like to see some of it afterwards. I'm going to ask you at the end of the session, if you wish, to share what you came up with. And if you're having any trouble, let me know. So for those of you who can't, who are not so sure, You can't see it. This is what you are downloading. So I've asked you on slide 1, PowerPoint exercises, to create an engaging title and an image to represent what you're going to do. And I've asked you to fix this slide, right? So remember, I said short sentences, and I want you to look at the animation. All right. So to put your pictures, insert, you go to pictures. And for now, we're just going to do one from an online picture. So choose a title for something that you've done. It could be something that you presented recently. It could be a class that you're preparing for, so you can start your PowerPoint from now. And you're going to choose an engaging title and an image that matches it. So I'm showing you insert, and you're going to online pictures. When you go to online pictures, you're going to choose and you're going to search for something. So if you're going to talk about the plant cell, you can actually search for the plant cell. You should leave this tick here for Creative Commons, because Creative Commons means that you do have permission to use it for educational purposes. And so you could just click on one and insert. All right. And when you've clicked on it, note that you can move it, you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, etc. So that's your first thing. And your second thing to do, so I hope you're still paying attention, is to fix this. You're going to break it down into a couple of points. Remember, no more than 6 lines and no more than 7 words per line. And how do we animate? So we go to animations. And if I wanted to highlight one sentence, I'm just going to put one sentence as an example, and compelling intro. When you click animations, you would see appear, etc. All I want you to do is to make it appear and disappear, because that's exactly the animation that I had on my slide, right? So you click appear, but you also want it to disappear afterwards. So you're going to go to add animation, and then you're going to go to exit effects, and you're going to look for disappear. All right. And that's what you're going to do. Yes, Janelle. So hold on, Janelle. Let me let you unmute. Yes, Janelle.
Hey, hi, good evening, Leon and everyone. We are not seeing what you are referring
I am
to
so
for
sorry.
some reason. A lot of person. Check the chat.
Yes. Okay. So this is the exercise, right, that you have. Everybody seeing it now? Right. So these are the exercises that you have to do. All right. So you're going to create an engaging title and image. So I'm going to show you that again. In order to insert an image, so you have your home. Your home is where you do all of your titles, your fonts, etc. Then to insert your image, you go to insert, pictures. And for today, just to make life easy, you're going to go to online pictures, because you can also use pictures from your computer. And you're going to search for a topic. So whatever topic you've come up with, you're going to search for a topic. So just now I said plant cell. So I'm going to search for plant cell again. And I'm going to choose one that looks like something that I want to insert. And then I'm going to, I can move it, I can resize it, etc. And I'm going to create a nice title slide. And then this second slide, you are going to convert this text into just about 3 points, right? Remembering that you do not want to have dense text. You want to have just a couple of words. And I'm going to show you how to do the animation again, right? So to do the animation, you click animations, and let me take off the animation that I have. So to do animation, you click animation, you make sure and highlight it. I want it to appear, but then I want to actually make it disappear, right? Because I don't want it staying on the screen. So to do that, to add two animations to one thing, you go to add animation and you go to exit effects and you click disappear and you press OK. And what that does, okay, it actually makes your stuff appear and disappear so that your students can focus on that one thing that you want them to do. So slides 1 and 2. Yes, some people had some questions. You can go ahead and unmute. I think everybody, let me just let you all unmute. I will let you all unmute, be able to unmute yourselves. Right.
Thank
So,
you for
yes,
the
Natasha.
presentation. Hi, could you, if you don't mind, please resend the thing so I can do this slide with the class? I don't have it. I had to re-sign in on another device.
Not a problem at all.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, so everybody else, go ahead and do your slide 1 and slide 2. I'm resending for those of you who did not get the exercises, and you have 4 minutes to do it. So at 6:30. And if you have any questions, you can ask. Natasha, is that an old hand? You have a question?
Are you sending it in the chat or are you sending it to the email?
It's in the chat. It's coming.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, then that's an older hand. Hold on, let me put it down.
Yes, Claudia.
I am having a little difficulty because I have an outdated Microsoft Office. So I can follow what's going on, and just when I get it updated later in the week, then I can try.
Sure, no problem, because I'm sending the video. So I will send the video out after, and you can do it at your own pace.
Thank you.
No problem. So I had a little timer here, but I forgot to press it. So we'll do it for the next one. And of course, that ribbon, you can go in and play with it a lot, right? Because, there are a lot of features there that you can play around with, some of which I'm going to show you as well. And remember, I would like to see a couple of examples at the end. So hope some people are willing to share. We have just about 1 minute left. So that was a sound to let you know, time to come back. And that's how you use sometimes sound effectively during your presentation, right? So like a timer to alert people of something, etc. So do we have any questions about the basics, or are we okay so far? Any questions so far, or are we following? We were able to go and do it. I know some of you will do it after, but for those of us who are actually working on the PowerPoints, any questions so far, or can we move on? All right, so I think we can move on. So those were the basics, right? And many of you probably were familiar with a lot of that. Now, this is one that a lot of people, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, right? But this is one that you really want to make sure that you're familiar with. So the slide master. The slide master is like what controls your PowerPoint. And okay, no problem, Kirill. And what the slide master allows you to do, it actually serves as the control center of a presentation. It helps you to save time, it helps you to save energy, it helps you to remain consistent across all your slides. It ensures that your design is uniform. And of course, if you create slides, you can actually insert like your signature, or if you have a logo for your school that you want to make sure that when you send out your slides, it remains. You want a certain color scheme, this is where you go. Now, how many of you sometimes you start off with one text on your presentation and then you realize, I don't really want that text, or you start off with one color and so you then have to go and make the change manually from every slide. Anybody does that, or anybody ever did that? You had to actually go make manual changes to each slide because you now had to change the font size, or you had to change the font type, or even the colors, etc. Or anybody has ever been interested in actually creating your own slide design? Because you probably want to have like a nice standardized slide that represents you or represents your school. Well, that's where your slide master comes in. So going back to your ribbon, right? Your ribbon is your friend, your ribbon is your home, your insert, etc. Your slide master is found in view. So when you go to view, you go to your slide master. So when you click slide master, your slide master actually helps you to edit any of your slides. So these are the typical slides, right? Now I can actually create a slide master right here. So for example, if I wanted a particular font used throughout my slide, I am going to create my slide master first. I am going to click fonts, and I want a particular font. So I want a particular font that goes throughout, right? So I want, let me see. I want Cambria throughout, and I want my slide size. I can customize my slide size here. So sometimes you see a widescreen slide. Sometimes you see where the slide looks like a letter size paper. Well, here's where you actually go to do that. So you can actually change your size of your paper to your slideshow here. Now, why would you want to change your slides, the size of your slide? Because you can use PowerPoint for creating worksheets. You can use PowerPoint for creating games. You can use PowerPoint for creating cue cards, etc. And you see banners, overheads, etc. So you can change your slide layout by going into here. So for example, if I wanted to change it to a letter size paper and I wanted to change it to portrait, what would that look like? And I wanted to maximize. See, there you go. Now what happens to my presentation when I do this? So let's close the master view and see what happens. It actually changed my presentation into a different view. Notice I didn't have to change each page, right? Oh, I don't want this. I'm gonna undo it, right? And I'm going to go back here and make sure it comes back in. I can also, if I wanted, I want to insert a logo. I want my logo on the page so that when it goes out, people know it came from my school. So how am I going to add a logo or my name to the presentation? Well, I can go to my pictures. So in this case, I already have my logo. So I'm going to go to this device and I'm going to go to where I saved it. Where did I save it? And I'm going to go to my logo. And I'm going to add it here. Now, wherever I add my logo, it's going to show up, right? So I may not want it so big. I may want to resize it and put it in a corner so that it doesn't block anything. Now let's see what happens when I close my slide master, right? So I close the slide master view. Now, because I have a picture here, so I'm just going to move it for you to see. You see, my logo shows up on every slide. And I did not have to do that. Well, this is a picture, so I'll have to move the picture, right? So I did not have to now add my logo to every single page. So if you have, and notice, I can't actually interfere with the logo because the logo is now part of the slideshow. So your master slide is where you want to put things that you don't want people interfering with. Your slide master is where you do all of that fancy stuff. Now, if I wanted to actually create my own look, like I could put the name of the school at the top, I could put like a header, I can do all of that here, and it shows up on every slide. So I could change the colors if I want to just, let me just change the colors. It would change automatically. I could even insert a full picture as a background. So let's say I wanted to actually add a picture and I want my background to look a particular way. I can actually do that. Let me just see, because I had downloaded a picture already. So I have this picture that I found, and I want this to be my PowerPoint background, right? So I can actually do this and create a nice little background. And now I have a customize, and I'm going to just send this to the back because I want my logo, right? Right? And let me just close it for you to see what happens. So now, if you notice, I can move all my pictures that are on top here, but I can't move the background because the background is actually now my slideshow template. Isn't that cool? That you can make your own slideshow template. I'm going to delete all my stuff just for you to see what the slideshow template, what the template now looks like. So I can use this as my new template. And it's now a template that I have created from scratch. And of course, you could put whatever decorations, whatever design, and you now have created your own template. So when you actually go out to present, nobody else has a template like you because you have created your own template. Isn't that cool? So if you want to change anything throughout your presentation, you go to View, you go to your Slide Master, and your Slide Master is where you can have some fun editing your different slides. Or have you ever gotten a slide, a template? You like the template, but there's like an annoying line in the middle of the template. You can actually go into the Slide Master and remove that line as well. So your Slide Master allows you to, modify templates. It allows you to add stuff to your template. And in particular, of course, things like your name or your logo. So questions or comments, or how do you all feel about that? Is there something new? Feeling excited about being able to now go and create your own templates? And of course, you can create any size that you like, because if you're creating worksheets, you may be creating it to print. So you might want to print it as a letter size page. So let's see. Yay! So I'm happy to see people are very excited about this. So your slide master is like one of those things you really want to be familiar with. I mean, and you could be creating your own slides now. Like you don't have to rely on PowerPoint. You don't have to rely on looking outside. You can create nice templates, like especially for your school, because you want to use, maybe you want to send out a particular color scheme all the time. You can actually now create slides that, you know, really just make it fun. So I know I have something for you to do on the slides, but just because of time, I actually want to run ahead a little bit, okay? So you can do the other exercise with the slide master on your own, because I want to show you two other very cool things about PowerPoint. So to find the slide master, go back to your ribbon. Your ribbon is called where you have your file, your home, your insert, etc. And you go to view. View. When you click view, you will see slide master here. Okay, so master views could be slide master, handout notes master, but you want to go to slide master. So again, view and slide master. And that's where you can go and you can play around with it and really just make your own creations. All right, so we are going now. So we're not going to, I wanted to show you a couple other shortcuts, right? So sometimes you're working in PowerPoint and you always have to go to home, insert, and you have to move your mouse and you have to do all sorts of things. But let me talk about the alt keys first, and then I will show you about the reuse slides from the PowerPoint. Did you know that that simple button, that alt button on your computer actually does this? Oh, let me, hold on, let me stop the, I need to remove this because it's, alt button is also stopping the sharing. Right, so are you all seeing my alt button? What it just did? I just clicked my alt button. Did you see the letters pop up? Let me see if I can remove this floating. Are you seeing? Right. Did you see those letters just pop up there? Z, A, F, H, N, etc. If you click your alt on your PowerPoint, it actually shows you what you have to press. So instead of my mouse, I'm going to press F. And then instead of save, like having to actually move my mouse to go to save, I'm going to press S. And it saves my PowerPoint. So I'm going to show you that again. This is a time-saving tip when you're working in PowerPoint. If you click Alt, those letters come up. So if you actually wanted to go to your slide master, or if you wanted to go to reading view, or anything there, you can actually press those letters. Or if you wanted to record, you press ZE. If you wanted it to go to your animation, you press A, etc. Okay, so that's like a shortcut for you to work when, instead of always having to use the mouse, which could be, you know, then you have to press home and then press another thing and then press another thing. You can actually put on the Alt and it will show up these letters, and you can actually use your keyboard instead for finding things in PowerPoint itself. So that's one shortcut. Another shortcut, which I know a number of persons may not. How many of you have actually had to, sometimes you want to merge two PowerPoints? Anybody want to tell me what you normally do? If you have like some good stuff in one PowerPoint, what do you normally do? Yes, Keisha. Keisha, I'm going to send the presentation after. I'm going to send the recording after. So
yeah, you copy and paste the slides.
so you copy and paste each slide. So if I wanted a slide from one thing, I'm going to copy this slide. And what if I wanted like 5 slides from it? What do I do? I copy it one by one. What if I told you there's an easier way to do this? If I have another PowerPoint, let me show you what I'm going to do. So pay attention. I go to, hold on, just remove my, so you actually have something called, right? You in your home, right? Oh, sorry, in your insert, sorry, in your under your insert button where you click new slide, you have something called reuse slides. So again, insert, new slide, reuse slides. Now look what happens when I click reuse slides. Reuse slides then asks me, do I want to insert, where do I want to insert those slides from? So I'm just going to browse from the PowerPoint exercises, right? I'm going to open this up. And then it opens up the entire presentation. And guess what I can do? I can click all, or I can actually click selected slides, and it does. Let me show you what it does. Now, before you click on it, you would notice that it says keep source formatting at the bottom. That is if you want it to stay as is. So if I want this to look just as is, I'm going to click keep source formatting. But if I actually wanted it to convert to what the new PowerPoint is, I'm not going to click it. So let me just click a couple. See what happens there? Or I could do this. I can press shift and I can press 1, 2, 3, 4. And look, I don't have to actually press copy and paste. I can actually reuse slides, and I can do this for 10 PowerPoints if I wanted. I just have to have it on the same machine. And I can actually just bring on next PowerPoint, and I can merge them if I wanted. And if I wanted to put it in different places, guess what? I could just put where I want this slide to be in. So I'm going to show you that again. If you have multiple PowerPoints, you want to go to insert, you want to go to new slide, and then reuse slides. When you click reuse slides, it's going to ask you to find that PowerPoint. You find your PowerPoint, and then you literally take which slide you want to put into your new presentation. Yay! Very happy that people are, finding this very exciting. You see how much stuff you could do in PowerPoint? Like PowerPoint, and listen, I am just scratching the surface here. I mean, there's a lot more in PowerPoint that you can do. So this is how you now save time. Can you imagine having to copy and paste 10 slides and you have to go back and forth when you could just do it right here? So these are time savers. And I have one more, which was the other time saver. Oh, I just inserted a set of slides into my presentation. The last time saver that I'm going to talk to you about is how to edit images and videos. Now, this is one that a lot of people I see, so we're going to end on this one. This is something that I see a lot of people doing with images, and they tend to have a lot of issues with it. So I'm actually going to bring up the one that so sometimes you get a nice image online, but there might be some writing on it or just some unnecessary information that I just don't want. Do I have to keep it like this? No, I don't, right? I can actually crop my photo right within PowerPoint. And how do I do that? I right click and you will see crop. And then you just use these black lines. I am going to crop my monkey because that's all I want. I do not want anything else but my monkey. And there I go. I now have my monkey hood. I'm going to show you that again. So we're going to undo. And the good thing is, even when you crop, the photo doesn't disappear. So if you made a bad crop, you can actually undo it, right? So you right click, crop, and then you make your crop as necessary, right? So you can determine how much of the picture you want or how much of the picture you don't want. So that's really how you crop an image. And that helps because sometimes you get an image and you just don't want the whole thing. You want only a little piece. And it's like, it's a perfect image, but there's something in there that I don't want. So you want to crop your images, right? And I want to show you one more trick that I think you're going to be excited about. I want to show you two more. So let's see if we can make it in time. I don't want to keep you all back. So another way to edit your images. Have you ever gotten an image and there's this white box around it? Isn't that annoying? Because sometimes when you get that white box, it actually blocks off things that you don't want it blocking off. You just want the image. So how do I actually, because I want to put this as a logo on top of my t-shirt, but this white thing is actually spoiling my image. So how do I do this, right? So right within PowerPoint, you can actually remove backgrounds from images now. And you can actually do that by when you click on a picture, you would notice whenever I click on a picture, this picture format shows up. So when I click picture format, remove background comes up. So let me show you. So I'm going to remove my background. Now anything in purple means they're going to remove it, right? So I have to mark some areas to keep. I'm going to use my little pencil. I'm going to click. And once it's no longer purple, it means it's not going to be removed. Right, so I'm just going to put my pencil, make sure my logo stays. And then I am going to put keep changes. And look at that. Now I have my logo without the white spots. So you can actually remove backgrounds right within, and I'm going to do it again because I don't want the white around my jersey. I want just my t-shirt. So I'm going to click on the picture again. Picture format comes up. Remove the background. Notice the purple comes up, but there are some areas that they remove that I want to keep. So I'm just going to press it. One click. And then I'm going to press to say keep changes. And now I have my t-shirt nicely edited without any white stuff that's going to be blocking, etc. Now you have this to practice. Some happy people are so excited. And I actually want you to practice this, right? I want you to actually go on the PowerPoint that I sent you and I want you to try it out for yourself. And I'm going to show you one last thing. So Rihanna is asking me how to embed videos in a PowerPoint. I will show you how to embed because that was the next thing that I was actually going to do. I'm going to show you how to crop a video. So let's just go very quickly how to embed a video. You have a couple of ways to embed videos, right? So when you go, if you are on YouTube, I actually have to show you, hold on. Let me share my screen because I will have to be moving back and forth. So I'm going to share my entire screen. So if I am going to embed a video, basically you go to that insert. Your insert is where you insert images, where you insert video. And you would notice you have your video here. You can also insert audio. You can have a video that's on your device. So if it's on your device saved as a video, then you insert it from there. There are some stock videos, just like how you have clip art, you have some stock videos. And then you have online videos. You have online videos that usually come from YouTube. And this is where you put in your video. So I'll actually have to get because the video that I have is, let me, hold on. If you went to YouTube, let's say I have this one, the human skeletal system. Just a quick note, right? There are two ways to, depending on what you're doing. When you are saving a YouTube video, you can either save it as an embed, and this is not really for PowerPoint, this is just general information. You can actually embed it or you can share it as a link. When you click share, it actually asks you how you want to share it. This is the embed code. This is the regular link, right? So you click embed, and this is the embed code. What embed means is that it's going to show up. And this is, as I said, not necessarily for PowerPoint, because you can just insert the link and it actually comes up. But other sites actually would be different. So you can use the embed code if you want it to show up in the PowerPoint. But for YouTube, for PowerPoint, sorry, you can actually just use the regular link and it still shows up in your presentation. So for example, let's go back here. If I click video, I now have my link. I'm going to insert it. It will actually load here to ask you if this is the correct video that you wanted. And you click insert and it shows up in your PowerPoint. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. And we're not going to go into how, but if you go into video playback, you can do a couple of things with it, right? So you can go and check that out after. So Rihanna, that's how you embed a video, basically. But if I have a video saved on my computer, did you know that you can edit a video right on PowerPoint? You can literally trim a video. So have you ever gotten a video that's just too long, or you just wanted a little piece? So you can actually trim your video when you right click, you click trim, and then I could determine, I didn't want the beginning of this. So, and I don't want the end, I just wanted a little nice little piece here. And then I press OK. And I've now chopped my video. So only that piece will play during class, because it is really kind of, sometimes if you've gone to, or you're presenting and you're playing a video, but it's not really that part of the video you wanted, you really just wanted a little 1-minute clip, but you have to play the whole video because you didn't know you could crop it right here, or you have to remember to put the marker at a particular point so that it starts there. Well, now you don't have to do that anymore. You can actually crop your video right within PowerPoint. And so I'm going to stop here because I don't like to keep people back, but I'm going to stop to ask if there are any questions, any comments. Of course, I always like feedback. And I do want you to practice on the PowerPoint that I sent you, right? So do practice, actually go through what you need, and I'm going to be sending you the recording so that you can actually do it with the recording, right? So you can actually pause it and spend time and practice it, etc. So, yes, Letitia.
Will you be sending the PowerPoint in the email as well?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, great, because it's not downloading on my end and I don't know why. And
Okay.
I'm not techie enough to figure it out.
Well, not a problem. All right. And of course, any comments, feedback, quick questions, or thank you very much for the feedback. Always wonderful when people learn new things, right? I'm always excited about that. So, so I will just take 2 quick comments. Anybody? And I'm very happy. So I will send out a recording. Anybody wants or and we have some more sessions coming up, right? We're gonna have I've committed to doing sessions once a month for free for the community, right? So y'all can look out for those. And of course, please do continue following us and supporting us on 21st Century Educators, and tell your friends about us, right? So nobody's going to give me a quick comment. Oh, wonderful. I am so happy. Thank you very much for all the feedback. So,
I'll give a comment. You wanted an actual verbal comment, Leanne.
yes, please. You know, you like to hear people.
That's correct. I understand. Just want to say that you were very clear. You gave very good instructions, good leading tips as well, and enjoyable as always. This is not my first session with you, so keep up the good work, really, and thanks for doing it for free, really. Congrats.
You're welcome, Yasmin. All right, so look forward to the other sessions. And of course, as usual, if there are particular sessions that you're interested in, you can send us an email and we will continue.
Auntie,
So that's it. I will send out a recording and I will see you next time. So, and make sure to practice, right? Very important that you actually practice with the PowerPoint that I sent. So have a good evening,
Thank you so
everyone.
much. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Auntie, Auntie, the meeting finished.